I gave up my trumpet. I gave up my life. Now I'm just drifting with no purpose. And Black kid in the city with no purpose, no dad, it's not going to end up well.
I was somebody who came into recovery rooms and always felt really guilty because I heard so many people saying, well, I was abused, I was molested. And I just said, what's my excuse? My excuse is I was a drug addict.
You're human.
Yeah, my biological predisposition. But I mentioned this because I'm a horseback rider. And I've said it a million times, if it weren't for horses, I'd be dead. A million times over, right? We got to have something. We got to have something, especially if we're like going in that direction. So you gave up all of your somethings, all of your ties that were keeping you grounded were gone at this point. And you're a troubled teen and well, you don't see it that way. You're like, I'm the cool kid. I'm with
the cool guys.
You're with the cool guys. So you're on your way to becoming, king of the streets. And what happens next?
Well, I flunked the ninth grade. I flunked the 10th grade. I flunked the 11th grade. I was in every special needs program you can imagine. I was a problem for the school. They just waited for me to age out. And then one day I went to class late with a friend, and the teacher didn't feel like putting up with my stuff. So she said, beat it, Andre, not today. You're late, you got a friend and a radio, not today. So I'm hanging in the hallway, and the security guys in the hallway said, Andre, you can't be in the hallway today. They said, the superintendent of schools coming. In the cities, when the superintendent of schools comes, they act right. The place is clean, the place is orderly. And as a troubled kid, when they tell you the superintendent's coming, you know what that means. They're not playing today. He said, well, go down to the gym. I said, well, gangs ran our gym. I said, I can't go to the gym. I got my radio. I'm going to get robbed. It's not going to work.
Gangs ran the gym in the high school?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, the local kids from the projects would come down and play basketball in the gym, hang out and sell weed to the high school kids. And nobody's going to stop them. So that was just like, they ran the gym. And I was like, today's not a good gym day for me. So the guy said, go in the auditorium. There's a seminar. I'm not supposed to let you in there, but it's sit in the back and be quiet. I go into the auditorium. Me and my buddy sit in the back. And there's this guy down front with a bow tie on talking about, you can go to Italy. You can go to France. You can go to Japan. And he's talking about these places you can go. I'm sitting in the back. I was good for like 3 minutes. I said, man, you're full of it, man. Ain't nobody going nowhere. Why are you down here selling dreams? And them white kids and Asian kids, I don't know where you found them. They don't go to school here. He says, don't talk from the back. Come talk to my face. My buddy laughed. Oh, we called you out. Walked down to the front. He says, hey, man, where do you want to go? I never thought about going anywhere. He said, well, hey, take these forms, fill them out, make them say no, then complain. Don't complain first. He gave me the forms. We eventually leave. Fast forward like 5 months. I'm sitting in my room. It was a Saturday. The forms were in my drawer. It was the day they were supposed to be dropped off. So I filled them out real quick. I called my buddy, took our stolen car. That's what we rode around with. We rode to the drop-off site. It was for exchange student kids. So we go in. I get to the front door. There's this nice white lady with pearls at the front desk. She said, what are you doing here? I'm like, in Boston, you don't get white people all the time. So I'm like, nothing. I'm about to run. Because I know I'm a bad person. She's a nice lady. This isn't good for me. She said, no. What are you here for? I said, I'm kind of here for the program. She said, do you have an application? So I give it to her. She looks through it. She says, where's your essay? Oh, no essay. I'm trying to get away from this lady. She's nice as can be, but I'm trying to get out of here. I said, I don't have an essay. I'm gone. She said, no, come back. She sat me down. She got a piece of paper and a pen. She said, write your essay right now. I wrote the essay. I gave it back to her. And then she opened the door. She let me and my friend Derek go into the session. It was the most disheartening, heartbreaking thing I've ever seen. Moms, dads, grandmoms, little brothers and sisters, everybody dressed up, walking around as a family. I never had that. Didn't know that existed. So I'm kind of like shocked that you do this. This is what people do. I've never seen this in my life. Whole family outings. I've never seen my mother and father in the same room since before I was a baby. Since I was little, never seen. I can't remember them being in the same room from like 8 years old up because they couldn't get along. And so to see mom, dad, little brother, and they're going around interviewing with the different places for the exchange student program. So I go around, I interview with all the programs. When it was said and done, I left. They gave out scholarships 1 through 34. I got the first scholarship out of everybody in the Boston Public Schools. And I was deemed to have the most potential of any kid in the school district. And every company was fighting to get me to go on their tour. There was 34 different companies, and everybody wanted Andre. And I eventually picked a company and I went to Paris, London, Amsterdam, and Belgium. Spent a summer abroad. And it was the greatest time of my life. It was 1984, so the Olympics were here. For that whole summer, I wasn't the black kid. I wasn't the N-word. I wasn't yo guy or I was the American kid. I was called the American so many times that it just stuck. And I'd never been called the American. It was always those kids from the hood or those kids from the block. Although it was always something that identified me as less than human. And all summer, everybody identified me as the American. I was on tour with a bunch of rich white kids. And it was all cool. I met my best friend there, Morgan. And just to be called the American kid made me equal. And I used to go play video games. And I used to put, on the high score, I used to put DRE. That was my thing, Dre. Then halfway through the summer, when it sank in, I was the American kid and the Olympics were playing, it was just all together. I switched it from Dre to USA. And I made it a point that every score on that thing said USA on it. Because I wasn't Dre, I was an American kid. And I embraced that by the time I left. And when I came back, it was a great outing, but I was so far down that track and I still didn't have guidance. I still went off the rails. Like 6 months later, I'm back in prison. I was 17 when I went.
So you're 17 when you took that incredible formative trip that maybe planted the seed. Like, people have been telling you your whole life you could be more. And then you got a taste of it. You felt it. But then you came back, and then what happened next?
I'm back in the street. Before we went, I remember when the principal found out I was going. The principal found out I won the scholarship and I was going to represent Madison Park High School. He called me to the office and he's cussing me out. I mean, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, like, how did this happen? Who did I cheat? I did something. There's no way Andre Norman, who's flunked out 3 years in a row, won an exchange student scholarship over the rest of the school or the school district. He's having a fit. Then the bow tie guy came. He came in and he's yelling at the bow tie guy. This isn't right. No way. This guy's no good. He's a problem. He's the worst kid we have in our school. And I'm sitting there like, he's right. And when he finished yelling, Mr. Bowtie stood up. He said, I want to tell you a few things. 1, he's going. 2, it's not your decision. And 3, it was nice seeing you today. Have a nice day. And he stood up and he told the principal, to me, who was like the biggest thing I know as a kid, as a principal, and we walked out. When we got out into the hallway, he looked at me. It was as if to say, I told you so. But it was really saying it was never quit. Make them say no.
Yeah.
I went to make them say no, and they said yes.
Yep. This story is so much about people believing in you in every juncture. And I've heard you say before, like, if you're a teacher out there listening, you've said this in your speeches, and just know how impactful your words can be. And I think if you're anybody out there who especially works with kids or touches, right, the lives of kids, especially kids who feel thrown away.
I'm not even mad at my principal.
Yeah.
His anger was justified. His tactics could have been different, but he didn't just pick my name out of a hat.
Right.
I burnt the hat.
Right.
I understand why he was upset, embarrassed, and I wouldn't have been my first pick if I was him either.
I get it.
So I'm not mad at Mr. Hennessy because he's responsible for thousands of kids, right. And the one kid is out of control. You don't want to put him up as your best. But I had a guy at the county jail tell me one time, because he gave me a job at the county. I went to the county jail, got in trouble, and they gave me the best job in the jail. I asked the captain, why did you give me this job? He said, sometimes the worst can be the best if you just give them a chance. He said, don't make me look bad.
I love that. One of my dear friends is Ann Malum. I don't know if you ever met her. If you haven't, you should. And she started Back on My Feet, which is, a 501c3 that helps homeless men start running to improve their self-esteem. But she said when she went in there to have her first meeting with the first homeless shelter, because she just had an idea. She was out running one day and she would run by this homeless shelter every day. And the guys would kind of say hi to her. They'd be out smoking their cigarettes and she'd say hi back. And they started every day having this little discourse. And she finally was like, why do I get to be out here running? And they got to be sitting there on the streets. And she had this idea. She called the head of the homeless shelter and said, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to start a program for homeless guys running. And the director was like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but homeless guys don't really run,
Not that often, no.
Yeah. But finally the guy said, fine, come on in, pitch your little program. And, if anyone signs up, great. If not, I told you so. She went in and she said, here's the deal. I'm gonna show up for you and do this running program, but you gotta be there. It's 3 days a week. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You gotta show up at 6 a.m. You can't be late, and you gotta support your teammates. And she said, I demanded nothing less than excellence of them. And it was like they had been waiting for someone to demand that of them their whole life. How does that strike you?
People rise or fall to the expectations that are placed on them. For all of my life, the expectations were low, or the 1 or 2 times I was given the expectation that was high, I would go back into a low vibrational place and it just pulled me back down. That man stood up for me that day, sat with me. And I'll never forget, I can count on one hand how many people stood up for me in my lifetime up until that point.